Hey guys, my name's Harris Bailey. I am the lead content producer from IWA Studios for Actors, and I'm sitting down with head coach Tony Babcock, and we're going to talk about some voice acting today.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. So I know nothing about voice acting. I am not a voice actor. You, however, have quite the resume in voice acting, and I had some questions for you, and hopefully you can give me some insight.
Sounds awesome. Let's do it.
All right, sounds good. So, question one. So what should a beginner voice actor's first steps be? If you're breaking into the industry, you've never done anything like this before, you don't know what you're doing, where do I go? What do I do to start?
Uh, that's a great question, Harris. I think, it can be voiceover is a very lucrative part of the industry, but it's also a very elusive part of the industry. A lot of people look at it as a kind of a club that they have no idea how to get into. There's certainly it is certainly a niche part of the market. However, I do think it is possible to get in using the same principles that we use at iWay Studio for all types of acting, which is to train. Obviously, I'm biased as a coach, but it's important, I think, to train as much as possible in a discipline so that when you go to an audition, you are able to master that process because you know what to do. Using my own personal experience, I actually did about a year and a half of voiceover training, which was not cheap, but it was
Mhm.
very, very useful. And I did that for about a year and a half, just immersing myself in every type of voiceover acting, be it narration, audiobooks, animation, voiceover commercial work, and just finding the ins and outs of that. And then also that valuable experience of being able to be able to be in the booth and experience what the booth is so vital. So I would say for anyone looking into voiceover, I mean, there's a few things you can do on the money side of things. Invest in classes and courses and training. Also invest in a microphone and practice recording. And then the other thing you can do that's, you know, it doesn't cost anything is just study it, read articles about voiceover. I know we have a few on our blog. You can also listen to radio commercials. Just be aware of what's happening. Watch cartoons. Really start to dissect what it is.
All right, next question. Yeah, so on the topic of buying microphones and having sort of a studio setup, how professional of a sound setup do you need to record your demo reel? Like, how much am I gonna have to spend on microphones before I can start doing this?
That's a great question. Gone are the days when you could record things on your phone and be okay. That said, the new phones are pretty high tech, pretty advanced. But you're still, you know, like it or not, when you're doing self records at home, especially if it's auditioning for something professional, it does factor in. And if you're really serious about voiceover, I do recommend investing in a little bit of a setup. I'll tell you a little bit about my setup because I do a lot of voiceover auditions here from home, self records. And so what I have is I have a blue Yeti microphone. I have it queued up. I'll show you guys. I run it to GarageBand and I actually record inside of my walk-in closet and I hang like sweaters on either side of the voice of the microphone to create that dampened sound and to just create that silence chamber around it.
All right, yeah. So next question. So we talk a lot about in some of your classes, we talk about actors having a brand,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that your brand that sometimes comes from your look too, right? I want to know for voice actors, how do they figure out what their brand is, or should they really be going for one particular brand, or is it more like you're supposed to have a wide range where you can do all these different voices and different character types?
That is such a great question. It's funny because it's something that, yeah, brand is so key when we're talking about on camera acting and stage acting. You need to know what your brand is because you want to become that go-to actor, right? Now, in
Hmm.
voiceover, it's interesting. Voiceover is similar because there is a cadence and tonality to your voice that you can't really escape. And there's also a place where your voice sits in terms of its resonance that lends itself well to certain types of characters. So I'm going to answer this question in two parts, in the world of commercial and in the world of animation. So for me personally, and this is just my opinion, this is my answer based on what I've experienced. For commercials, I tend to always get the same kind of character, which is that kind of sardonic late teens, early 20s. And for some reason, my voice just goes there. Sometimes I add a bit of a vocal fry, kind of like this, and it just lends itself well. I'll show you guys an example, actually. I do have this queued up.
Steve, you've been with the company for 3 years now.
Yeah?
You handle our finances like a pro. It's time for a promotion.
A promotion?
And the shareholders agreed to profit sharing.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, so congrats. You're the new assistant manager at Jill's Fruit Stand.
Thanks, Mom. Now can you pass the meatloaf?
In terms of animation, so again, a similar thing. I tend to play bratty kid and teen characters. But kind of have that higher register bratty kind of sound, that kind of a thing. It's very I played it younger, like, oh my gosh, like that kind of a thing, and a little bit older, like whatever, man. But they're always like brats, right? And so my voice has naturally kind of sat into that place, and I've definitely taken note of that. And I wouldn't say just looking for roles like that, but definitely tailoring my animation reel to those types of characters.
Very nice. So yeah, I was going to ask you, so let's say you're starting out in voice acting, and you're just trying to build your skill set. What should you work on? Should you work on impressions? Should you take voices of characters like in cartoons that you know and love that you think you could try to do maybe a version of that? Or do you think you should just be trying to go for something completely different, your own sort of unique voice, sort of?
Both. I think it's important to develop what your unique voice is and what your cadence is, and really fine tune it and really bring it to the best it can be. Certainly, I've booked a lot of things through just being unique, coming in with a unique take on something. However, there is something in our industry called voice matching, which happens a lot. Basically, what happens is someone retires from playing a character for years, and now they're looking for someone who can emulate that character. I actually have a really great story for this. So last summer, I was very fortunate to be a guest judge for the Voice Arts Awards in New York City, which was incredible. I actually got to meet Lily Tomlin there. It was fantastic. It was such a great experience. And one thing that actually happened was I got to meet Bob Bergen. And for those of you who don't know who Bob Bergen is, he is someone very familiar. I'm just going to show you a video and you'll know who he is instantly. Here you go.
What am I doing on Mars?
Oh, I'm going to blow up the Earth. That obstructs my view of Venus. Isn't that lovely?
That's Bob Bergen. He's the voice of Porky Pig. And he has an amazing story that actually answers this question. So he was, from a young age, loved watching the Looney Tunes and was absolutely determined to be Porky Pig. Like determined. Like
Wow.
He actually spent all of his time practicing the voice and eventually found a way, and it's a hilarious story how he did this, but he basically finagled his way into a meeting with the original voice of Porky Pig, which was Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc, who was did all the Looney Tunes. He basically did all the male characters in the Looney Tunes except for, I think it was Elmer Fudd. And so Bob found his way into that, into the offices of Mel Blanc and said, hey, I want to be the new you when you're done, and I'll do anything it takes. And basically apprenticed underneath Mel Blanc for years, learning the Porky Pig voice and cadence and everything he could, so that by the time Mel Blanc then was retiring, Bob was the obvious choice. And he still auditioned, but he killed it, of course, and became the new voice of Porky Pig and a lot of the other Looney Tunes as well. So this is a great example of someone who was extremely determined, who learned how to voice match, and was then given that role of Porky Pig for years and years and years. Now, I think every voice actor needs to learn how to voice match. It's very, very important. So when you're listening to cartoons, on TV, see if you can emulate what the cartoon sounds like. See if you can find the cadence in your voice. And look, even if you're not voice matching with that, you can then find variations of those voices to bring into your own work.
Well, that's it. That's all my questions for today. We do have coming up this weekend the Voiceprov workshop. Do you maybe want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So every now and then I run a weekend intensive called Voiceprov. It's basically a 2-day masterclass into all things voiceover. We spend one day looking at commercial voice and the second day exploring animated voice. And you actually get to not only understand how to integrate improv with your voiceover work, but you get to walk away with clips, professional clips for your demo reel. So I highly recommend it. This will be, I think, the 6th time we've run it, and can't say enough good things about it. I'm biased, of course,
Awesome.
but I really enjoy it.
Well, this one's going to be my first time seeing this one, so I'm looking forward to it. And that's coming up on June 22nd and 23rd this weekend. So be sure to check out IYA's website and sign up for it, because we got how many spots left? 2? 2 spots left. Awesome. Well, thanks for the chat, Tony.
Thank you so much, Harris. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.